The gavel cracked like a gunshot in the stifling heat of the community center, silencing the murmurs that had been building for weeks. Lucas Harper stood frozen at the back of the room, his cap and gown clutched in trembling fists. As his father's voice boomed, "We won't celebrate a son who shames us like this." In that instant, the weight of every whispered secret and stolen glance crashed down, turning the air thick with the kind of betrayal that doesn't bleed but bruises the soul forever. Lucas had always known his family was the picket fence kind, the sort that waved American flags on the 4th of July and quoted Bible verses at Thanksgiving dinner without a hint of irony. Growing up in Willow Creek, Ohio, a speck of a town where cornfields stretched like endless golden promises and the local diner served pie with a side of gossip, he'd learned early to bury his truths deep. At 17, he was the golden boy, straight-A student, quarterback on the JV team, the kid who volunteered at the food bank every Saturday with a smile that could melt the frost off Lake Erie's shores. But beneath that all-American facade simmered something fiercer, something that had first flickered to life 2 summers ago under the bleachers at the county fair, when James Riley's hand brushed his during a game of ring toss. James was the new kid from Cleveland, transferred in junior year with a leather jacket that smelled like rain-slicked streets and a smirk that said he didn't give a damn about fitting in. Tall, with tousled dark hair that fell just so over hazel eyes that seemed to see right through you, he was the kind of boy who quoted Kerouac in English class and snuck cigarettes behind the auto shop. Lucas remembered the exact moment it hit him. They were elbow-deep in engine grease, fixing up the old Mustang James's uncle had left him, and James had looked up, wiping sweat from his brow, and said, "You ever feel like you're just waiting for the road to call your name?" Luke, the nickname stuck, like a key turning in a lock Lucas hadn't known was there. That summer blurred into a haze of late-night drives down back roads, windows down, Bruce Springsteen blasting from the tape deck as they chased fireflies and shared dreams too big for Willow Creek. James talked about escaping to New York, painting murals on brick walls in Brooklyn, living loud and unapologetic. Lucas listened, heart pounding, and one humid night by the creek, stars thick as spilled sugar above them, James leaned in, his lips soft and urgent against Lucas's. It was clumsy, electric, the world narrowing to the taste of root beer on James's tongue and the fear that this could shatter everything. "I've wanted this since the day I saw you throw that spiral," James whispered afterward, his fingers tracing patterns on Lucas's arm. "Don't let this town steal you from yourself." But Willow Creek had a way of stealing things. By senior year, the whispers started. A teammate caught them too close in the locker room, a fumbled explanation that spread like wildfire through the hallways. Lucas's parents, devout pillars of the First Baptist Church, confronted him over meatloaf one Tuesday night. His mother wept into her napkin. His father paced the kitchen like a caged bull, quoting Leviticus like it was a verdict. "This isn't you, son. This is a phase. A sin." Lucas sat there, fork midway to his mouth, feeling the words carve him hollow. He denied it at first, then bargained therapy sessions with Pastor Ellis, who droned on about deliverance and handed out pamphlets thick with judgment. But the truth clawed its way out, night after night, in stolen moments with James in the bed of that Mustang, bodies tangled under blankets that smelled of oil and freedom. Graduation loomed like a guillotine. Willow Creek High's ceremony was the town's big event, held in the old community center with its creaky wooden floors and banners from decades past. Families rented out the diner for after-parties. The mayor gave a speech about pioneering spirits, and everyone pretended the world outside their bubble didn't exist. Lucas had dreamed of that day since freshman orientation, walking the stage, diploma in hand, his parents beaming from the front row. But 2 weeks before, after his mother found the Polaroid of him and James tucked in his sock drawer, a candid shot James had snapped during their creekside kiss, all grins and tangled limbs. The dream curdled. "We won't be there," his father said that night, voice flat as the Ohio plains. They were in the living room, the TV flickering some mindless sitcom in the background. His mother hovered by the doorway, eyes red-rimmed, clutching her cross necklace like a shield. "Not if you're choosing this over us. Over God." Lucas's stomach dropped, a cold stone sinking through him. "Dad, please. It's my day. Our day." But his father shook his head, unyielding. "You've made your choice, boy. Live with it." They didn't yell, didn't throw things, just left the room, the silence louder than any storm. His little sister, Mia, only 12, slipped him a note later. "I'm sorry. I love you anyway." It was the only warmth in that house after. Word spread, as it does in towns like Willow Creek. By Monday, the hallways buzzed with pitying glances and sidelong whispers. "Heard the Harpers are boycotting their own kid. Figures. Queers ruin everything." Coach pulled him aside after practice, clapping a heavy hand on his shoulder. "Tough break, Harper. But keep your head down. College scouts don't care about your personal life." Lucas nodded, throat tight, but inside, rage simmered. James found him later, slumped against his locker, and pulled him into an empty classroom without a word. "They're wrong," James said fiercely, cupping Lucas's face. "All of them. You're graduating top of your class. Scholarship to OSU locked in. This town's too small for their hate." They kissed then, desperate and deep, James's hands steadying him like anchors in a squall. But even as Lucas melted into it, doubt gnawed. How do you walk a stage alone? The days blurred into a countdown of dread. Lucas threw himself into finals, aced his speech for valedictorian, words about embracing the unknown, even when it scares you, but rehearsed them in the mirror to an empty room. James became his lifeline, sneaking over after curfew with takeout from the diner and playlists of the boss's anthems about busted dreams and open roads. One night, as rain pelted the roof, James traced the freckles across Lucas's chest and murmured, "What if we just left, right after? Drove straight to the city, started over." Lucas wanted to say yes, to imagine a life where love wasn't a dirty secret, but the pull of home, of proving he could survive it, held him fast. "I need to face this," he said finally. "Show them I'm not broken." Graduation morning dawned sticky and bright, the kind of June day that promised barbecues and fireworks shows but delivered only humidity. Lucas dressed in his room, the cap and gown hanging like a shroud from the closet door. His mother knocked once, left a wrapped gift on the dresser, a leather-bound journal with "For New Beginnings" inscribed on the cover, but didn't enter. His father was already gone. "Off to church business," Mia whispered from the hall. She hugged him quick, fierce. "Kick-ass up there, big bro." Then she was gone too, the house echoing empty. He drove himself to the community center, the Mustang's engine rumbling like a heartbeat. The parking lot overflowed with families in Sunday best, balloons bobbing, cameras flashing. Lucas parked at the edge, away from the clusters of laughter, and sat there a minute, breathing deep. His phone buzzed. "James, front row. Saving your seat. Love you, Valdork." A ghost of a smile tugged at Lucas's lips. At least he had that. Inside, The air hummed with anticipation. Seniors milled about in alphabetical order, gowns swishing like whispers. Lucas scanned the bleachers. Aunt Karen from Toledo, the Millers with their twins, the mayor in his ill-fitting suit. No Harpers. No familiar faces beaming pride. His chest ached, a hollow throb, but he straightened his shoulders. This is mine, he told himself. They don't get to take it. The ceremony began with the band mangling pomp and circumstance, then the principal's droning welcome. Names were called. One by one, diplomas handed out to cheers and whoops. Lucas's turn came midway, his legs jelly as he climbed the stage. Lucas Harper. Polite applause rippled, a few whistles from teammates. He shook the principal's hand, gripped the rolled parchment, and for a split second, locked eyes with James in the crowd. Hazel steady, thumbs up. Steadied him, just enough. Then came the speeches. Salutatorian first, a rambling ode to small-town values. Lucas's turn next. He approached the podium, heart slamming against his ribs, the microphone hot under his palms. The room fell quiet, expectant. He glanced at his notes, carefully typed words about perseverance, but something shifted. The emptiness in the front row gaped like a wound. Screw it, he thought. No more hiding. Ladies and gentlemen, families, friends, he began, voice cracking only once. Today, we celebrate not just endings, but beginnings. The courage to step into the light, even when shadows try to pull you back. He paused, scanning the faces, curious, bored, a few already fidgeting. For some of us, that light means facing truths we've buried. Like loving who we love, without apology. A murmur stirred. Lucas pressed on, words tumbling faster. My family isn't here today. They chose not to witness this moment because of who I am. Because I'm gay. Gasps rippled, chairs creaking as heads turned. His father's imagined glare burned phantom hot on his skin, but he didn't stop. And it hurts. God, it hurts. But standing here, in this gown, with this diploma, it's proof that love, real love, doesn't skip out when things get hard. It shows up. It fights. From the wings, a figure emerged, James, striding onto the stage uninvited, his own gown thrown on haphazardly over jeans. In his hands, a banner unfurled, Harper family, we're proud of Lucas. The crowd hushed, stunned, as James reached him, wrapping an arm around his waist. They're watching from home, James said into the mic, voice steady but eyes fierce. Pastor Ellis is there too. Live stream, whole congregation. And half the town. 'Cause I made sure. The twist hit like thunder. Lucas's knees buckled, but James held him up. On the screen behind the podium, meant for slideshows of baby pics and prom shots, flashed a feed. The Harper living room, his parents frozen on the couch, Mia waving frantically, Pastor Ellis nodding solemnly beside them. His mother's hand flew to her mouth, tears streaming. His father, stoic, unyielding, met the camera's eye, voice gravelly over the speakers. Son, we were wrong. We're here. The auditorium erupted, not in boos, but in a wave of something raw, electric. Claps built to roars, tears and hugs breaking out in the stands. Willow Creek, for one breathless moment, wasn't small or spiteful. It was alive with the messy beauty of forgiveness, of a town choosing grace over grudge. But as the cheers swelled, Lucas realized the real story wasn't the shock. It was the quiet vow in James's grip. We made it through the fire. Now we build something new. The aftermath crashed over Willow Creek like a summer squall. Fierce, fleeting, but leaving everything sodden and changed. By the time Lucas and James stumbled off stage, arms linked against the onslaught of well-wishers, the community center buzzed like a hive kicked open. Old ladies from the church auxiliary pressed soggy tissues into his hands, murmuring "Bless your heart," with accents thick as sorghum syrup. Teammates who'd ribbed him mercilessly in the showers now clapped his back hard enough to bruise, eyes averted in that awkward guy way of saying "I get it now." Even the mayor cornered him by the punch bowl, puffing up his chest. "That took guts, son. Real American grit." Lucas nodded through it all, numb and buzzing, James's hand a warm anchor at the small of his back. But his mind raced ahead to home, to the faces on that screen, to the fragile bridge James had somehow built overnight. "How?" he whispered as they slipped out a side door into the muggy afternoon, the Mustang waiting like a faithful steed. James leaned against the hood, lighting a cigarette with a flick of his Zippo, the one engraved on the road in looping script. "Called your sister last week, after your folks laid down the law. She's a firecracker, Luke. Convinced me we could turn this into something bigger than their bullshit. Mia. Of course." The note under his door hadn't been empty words. She'd been plotting, rallying the pint-sized resistance from her bedroom fortress of boy bands and sketchbooks. James exhaled smoke toward the sky, watching it curl like question marks. "Told her we'd go public, your speech, the stream." She wore him down. "Pastor Ellis too. Guy's got a soft spot for redemption arcs. Said it reminded him of that prodigal son parable, minus the fatted calf." Lucas laughed, a shaky bark that bordered on hysteria. "Prodigal son. Yeah, that's me, wayward queer kid. Come crawling back." But there was no bitterness in it. Not yet. Just the sweet ache of possibility. He slid into the passenger seat as James took the wheel, the engine's rumble a familiar lullaby. They didn't head straight home. Instead, James veered onto Route 23, the road that ribboned out toward the cornfields, where silos stood sentinel like chrome giants under the relentless sun. They drove in silence at first, windows cranked down, the wind whipping their gowns into makeshift capes. Lucas's cap had flown off somewhere in the chaos, left behind like a shed skin. "You were incredible up there," James said finally, one hand on the wheel, the other finding Lucas's knee. Voice didn't waver once after the bomb drop. "Thought I'd have to catch you if you face-planted." Lucas turned, studying the play of light on James's profile, the sharp jaw, the faint scar above his lip from a skateboarding wipeout last fall. "I almost did. But then you. God, that banner. Where'd you even get it?" "Art class rejects and a Sharpie. Borrowed the church's projector for the feed. Hacked it with Mia's iPad." James grinned, that lopsided thing that always unraveled Lucas. "Told your dad straight up, watch your boy shine, or regret it forever." He grumbled, but showed up. "That's something." They pulled over at their spot by the creek, the water lazy and brown, dragonflies skimming its surface like skipped stones. James killed the engine, and they tumbled out, collapsing onto the grass in a heap of limbs and laughter. For the first time that day, Lucas felt the tension uncoil, his body molding to James's as they stared up at the clouds drifting like unspoken promises. "I love you," Lucas murmured, the words slipping out easy as breathing. James turned his head, hazel eyes soft in the dappled light. Say it again. I love you, Lucas repeated, bolder, sealing it with a kiss that tasted of adrenaline and cherry chapstick. They lingered there, hands exploring with the unhurried grace of lovers who knew time was finally on their side. James's fingers traced the line of Lucas's collarbone, dipping lower, eliciting shivers that had nothing to do with the breeze. You think they'll really change? Lucas asked later, head pillowed on James's chest, the steady thump of his heart a metronome against the uncertainty. James sighed, threading fingers through Lucas's hair. Maybe. People don't flip overnight. But you gave Em a mirror today. Hard to hate what you see in your own reflection. They talked then, dreams spilling out like fireflies at dusk. OSU for Lucas, studying journalism to tell stories that mattered. Pratt Institute for James, chasing that painter's life in the city that never sleeps. We'll make it work, James vowed. Weekends in Columbus, summers in the Mustang. Hell, I'll paint you a mural on every wall we rent. Lucas believed him, in that bone-deep way you believe in the tide's pull. But Willow Creek had other plans. By evening, as they rolled back into town, the diner's parking lot was a circus. Trucks and sedans jammed fender to fender, folks spilling onto the sidewalk with styrofoam cups of coffee and cell phones glued to ears. News traveled faster than gossip here. Someone had uploaded the speech to the town's Facebook group, and it snowballed from there. Harper Kid comes out, family folded, screamed the local paper's breaking post, likes piling up like cordwood. Reporters from Cleveland affiliate stations loitered by the door, mics at the ready, while Pastor Ellis held court on the porch, quoting Corinthians to a cluster of skeptics. Lucas's phone had blown up. Texts from cousins in Dayton, proud of you, cuz. Old teachers, you inspired us all. Even coach, beer on me next practice. But the one that gutted him was from his father. Come home. We talk. Now. James squeezed his hand as they parked. You got this. I'm right here, inside the house. The air hung heavy with pot roast and unspoken apologies. Mia launched herself at Lucas first, hugging so tight he lifted her off the ground. You were a rock star, Dad cried, actual tears. Mom too. Their parents sat at the kitchen table, faces etched with the kind of weariness that comes from wrestling ghosts. His mother rose first, arms open, and Lucas folded into her, the scent of lavender soap and regret wrapping around him. I'm so sorry, baby. We were scared for you, for us. Thought we were protecting. She trailed off, sniffling. His father cleared his throat, standing awkward as a colt. Pastor set me straight. Said grace isn't conditional. I was wrong, son. Dead wrong. The words landed soft, but they mended cracks Lucas hadn't dared name. They talked late into the night, halting at first, then freer. Stories tumbled out, his parents' own youth in the 70s, the AIDS crisis whispers that made them cling tighter to normalcy, Lucas's fears of losing them forever. James sat quiet in the corner, a steady presence, chiming in only when the silence stretched too thin. By midnight, as Mia dozed on the couch, his father extended a hand. Proud of you, Lucas. Always was. It wasn't perfect. No fairy tale erasure of the hurt. But it was real, a foothold on higher ground. The city, or what passed for one in Willow Creek, watched, as twists do. The next week's paper ran a front-page spread. Valedictorian's bold stand sparks dialogue on love and acceptance. Interviews poured in. Panels at the library. Even a pride flag raised, temporarily, at the town hall. But for Lucas, The real shock wasn't the spotlight. It was waking the next morning to James's note on the pillow. Breakfast at the diner? Then the road calls. He smiled, pulling on jeans and a faded Springsteen tee. The hurt lingered, a bruise under the skin, but so did the hope, a humanistic hymn to the mess of being human, where betrayal bends but doesn't break. And love, fierce and unskipping, lights the way. Yet beneath the mending, shadows stirred. Not everyone in Willow Creek bent with grace. Across town, in the shadowed back booth of the auto shop, Tommy Greer, Lucas's old teammate, the one who'd first spilled the locker room secret, nursed a Bud Light and a grudge. "Whole damn town's gone soft," he muttered to his buddies, fists clenched around the bottle. Tommy had his own fractures. A dad who'd bailed when he was 10, a mom working doubles at the factory. Seeing Lucas win like that, it rankled, turned envy to something sharper. He didn't hate queers. Not really, just the way the world seemed to hand them silver linings while his stayed tarnished. That grudge festered quiet, but Willow Creek's grapevine was a tinderbox. A week post-graduation, as Lucas prepped for OSU orientation, packing boxes in the garage, James helping with playlists for the drive, Tommy made his move. Anonymous post on the town forum, Harper's hero moment, staged sob story. Ask his boyfriend about the real James Riley, trouble from Cleveland, daddy issues and all. Attached, a blurry photo, James mid-fight outside a Cleveland bar last year, knuckles bloodied from defending a drag queen from hecklers. Context lost, painted him as thug, not protector. The post went viral local style, shares from truckers to teachers, comments piling like mud. Knew it was too good. Outsiders corrupt. Protect our kids. Lucas saw it first, scrolling on his phone while taping a box. His stomach twisted, not for the lie, but the venom. "They don't know you," he said to James, who shrugged it off with a forced laugh. Small minds, big mouths. Let 'em talk. But doubt crept in. Insidious as rust, James had a history. Rough edges from a broken home. What if the town was right? What if loving him meant inviting more storms? The anonymous post hit like a sucker punch. But Lucas refused to go down swinging. That night, after taping the last box and waving James off with a kiss that lingered too long, he sat at the kitchen table with his laptop, the screen's glow casting harsh shadows on the checkered linoleum. His fingers hovered over the keys. Heart a war drum. Fight fire with fire, or let it burn out. Willow Creek's forum was a digital coliseum. Folks airing laundry from PDA beefs to zoning disputes. But tonight, crackled with something darker, a mob mentality cloaked in concern. He typed slow at first, then faster, words flowing like the creek after rain. I saw the post. The photo. Yeah, that's James, my James, defending someone who didn't deserve the hate. Not starting it. Ending it. He attached the full story, a link to James's old blog, raw entries from his Cleveland days about growing up with a dad who drank more than he parented, about finding art and activism as lifelines. He's not trouble. He's home. Hit post. Then, because why stop at defense? He added, if you've got questions, ask me. Not whispers. Willow Creek raised me better than that. Sleep came fitful, dreams tangled with stage lights and shattered glass. Morning brought a flood, pings lighting up his phone like firecrackers. Some ugly fairy tale over princess. Others, surprising, thanks for sharing. Met my nephew's partner last year, good folks. Even Tommy Greer direct messaged. Didn't mean to stir shit. Just rough week. No apology, but a crack in the armor. Lucas screenshotted it, sent to James with a single emoji. Fist bump. OSU orientation loomed 2 days out. A bullet train to a bigger world. Lucas and his mom drove up together, his dad claiming shop work, but really nursing the art of showing up sideways. The campus sprawled like a fever dream. Brick quads alive with frisbee games. Coffee carts hawking lattes with names like Buckeye Brew. Tour guides in scarlet tees herding wide-eyed freshmen. Lucas's mom clutched her purse like a talisman, eyes darting at every rainbow sticker on a backpack. It's lively, she ventured as they navigated the humanities hall, posters for Queer Alliance mixers peeling at the edges. He laughed, looping an arm through hers. Lively's good, Mom. Means real. They sat in on a panel, Navigating Identity in Academia, where a non-binary prof with purple hair shared stories of rural to urban leaps, the ache of leaving pieces of yourself behind. Lucas's mom nodded along, quiet, but later, over bad cafeteria pizza, she said, "Makes me think. We almost lost you to silence. Don't let that happen to anyone else here." It was her way, halting humanism, pieced from prayer and hindsight. He hugged her tight, the kind that says we're figuring it out. Back in Willow Creek for the interim, James became the glue. They spent evenings at the creek or the auto shop, grease under nails as they tinkered with the Mustang's carburetor, radio tuned to WCPN for indie sets that made the air hum. One dusk, as the sun bled orange across the fields, James pulled a canvas from the truck bed, his latest, a swirl of blues and golds depicting two figures silhouetted against a city skyline, hands clasped. "For your dorm wall," he said, shy almost. "Us. In the big city someday." Lucas traced the brushstrokes, throat tight. "It's perfect. You're perfect. But perfection's a fragile thing in small towns." Tommy's post had stirred the pot, and not all the froth-settled kind. At the Friday night send-off barbecue, his parents' idea, a pre-college hootenanny with ribs and corn on the cob, tensions simmered under the smoke. Neighbors milled about the backyard, kids chasing lightning bugs, but eyes lingered on James, who manned the grill in a faded Ramones tee, flipping burgers with practiced flips. Lucas caught the whispers. That Cleveland boy heard he got expelled once. Harpers are too trusting. Pastor Ellis arrived fashionably late, Bible in hand, but instead of sermons, he pulled Lucas aside by the fence. "Your words last week. They're rippling, son." Church boards discussing a welcome for the Alliance group from OSU. But watch your back. Not everyone's on board. The warning hung heavy, but so did the olive branch, an invite to guest speak at youth group. Lucas accepted, pulse quickening at the thought of standing in that steepled room, not as sinner, but as story. The night peaked with toasts, soda cans clinking under string lights, his dad clearing his throat for a speech that started stiff. Lucas has always made us proud, but softened into something raw. Love's a road, bumpy as hell sometimes. But family, that's the map. Cheers erupted, James's eyes meeting Lucas's across the fire pit, a promise in the flicker. Later, as guests thinned, they slipped away to the old oak tree, bark rough under their palms as they leaned in, breaths mingling. "You're leaving me tomorrow?" James murmured, forehead to Lucas's. "Feels like yesterday we were sneaking smokes here. For hours to Columbus," Lucas countered, nipping at his earlobe. "I'll drive back every weekend." Swear. Their kisses deepened, urgent with the ache of impending miles, hands roaming, hearts sinking to the cricket chorus. James's touch was reverent, mapping Lucas like a canvas, whispers of mine and always weaving through the leaves. They didn't go all the way, not with the party echoes still fading, but the intimacy was enough, a tether against the pull of change. Packing finale came Sunday dawn, the Mustang loaded with duffels and dreams. His family gathered on the porch, Mia with a handmade card, kick college ass, love, your fave sis. Mom with Tupperware of cookies, Dad with a gruff, call when you get there. James idled at the curb, engine purring impatience. Lucas hugged them fierce, the scent of home clinging like pollen. Then he was in the car, James's hand on his thigh as they peeled out, Willow Creek shrinking in the rearview. The drive was a montage, gas station stops for Slurpees, sing-alongs to Born to Run, pit stops at diners where waitresses called them y'all, and refilled coffees without batting an eye. By midday, Columbus rose, skyscrapers glinting like teeth, the Olentangy River winding lazy through it all. OSU's campus swallowed them, dorm check-in a whirlwind of RAs with clipboards and roommates unpacking lava lamps. Lucas's roomie, Alex, a wiry econ major from Cincinnati with a penchant for bad puns, eyed James's mural with a whistle. Dude, that's fire. Artist BF. James smirked, slinging an arm around Lucas. Guilty. Don't break his heart. I paint mean revenge portraits. They laughed. Easy. But as James helped hang the canvas, Lucas caught the flicker in his eyes, the unspoken "this is real now. You're gone." Dinner was awkward Thai takeout with Alex, James charming as ever, but by 9, it was time. They walked the quad under sodium lamps, leaves crunching like whispers. At the dorm steps, the goodbye stretched, words failing where touches spoke. "Text me when you wake up," Lucas said, voice thick. James cupped his face, thumb brushing a stray tear. "Every damn day. Love you, Luke. Go conquer." The kiss was salt and fire, a seal on the chapter's end. James walked backward into the night, silhouette fading, until Lucas turned inside, chest hollow but humming. College life hit like a freight train, syllabi stacks, 8 a.m. Lectures on media ethics, club fairs where booths hawked everything from ultimate frisbee to vegan activism. Lucas dove in, joining the queer student union with its rainbow-flagged meetings in basements that smelled of patchouli and possibility. His first panel there, a discussion on rural queerness, drew a crowd, his Willow Creek story landing like a stone in still water, ripples of nods and shared scars. "You turned rejection into revolution," the moderator said after. Lucas blushed, but inside, pride bloomed. Weekends blurred into visits. James barreling down I-71 with sketchpads and takeout, crashing on the futon amid all-nighters. They explored haunting dive bars in the short north, where drag shows glittered with sequins and sass, picnics by the Scioto, feet dangling as they dreamed aloud. But distance gnawed. Small fissures, missed calls from late shifts at the shop, James's texts laced with fatigue, towns still whispering. "Miss you." Lucas buried it in deadlines, but the post-graduation high faded, replaced by the grind's quiet doubts. Then, betrayal's shadow lengthened. Midterms week. Package arrived, no sender, just Lucas's name scrawled in block letters. Inside, printouts of James's old Cleveland blog, not the redemptive ones, but the raw, angry rants from 16-year-old James, F-bombs and fury at his absent dad, lines about burning bridges that twisted out of context. Tucked in, A note. Tommy's handwriting unmistakable now. Thought you should see the real him. Before it's too late. A friend. Lucas's world tilted. He confronted James that Friday. Printouts spread on the dorm bed like evidence in a trial. Why hide this? Hurt edged his voice, sharp as glass. James paled, then sighed, running hands through his hair. It was kid stuff. Luke. Angry. Yeah, Dad split. Left us with nothing. I wrote to purge. Not to define. But the word stung. I'll never trust again. Love's for suckers. Echoes of now. Or prophecy. They fought, quiet at first. Accusations volleying like badminton birdies. You said you were past it. I am. But you think one bad year erases everything good. James stormed out, Mustang roaring into the night. Lucas collapsed, sobs racking him. The betrayal not James's past, but the town's reach, Tommy's help, the poison seeping through miles. The fight lingered like smoke after a bonfire, acrid and clinging. Lucas spent the weekend in a haze, nursing black coffee in the Union, staring at lecture notes that blurred into hieroglyphs. Alex tried jokes. Roomy, you're gloomier than my GPA. But even he clocked the fracture. BF drama? Bill? Or I'll serenade you with show tunes. Lucas cracked a smile. But the wound festered. Was James's fire, that passionate blaze that drew him in Born of Ashes too volatile? The printouts mocked from his desk drawer. A Pandora's box cracked open by small-town spite. Monday brought mediation of sorts, a call from Mia, her voice tinny over the dorm's spotty signal. Tommy came by. Spilled everything. Feels like crap. Says he was projecting his own mess. Dad made him apologize in person at church. Lucas gripped the phone. The quad's autumn leaves swirling like confetti gone sour. And James. He's been crashing at our place. Quiet. Sketching like mad. Won't talk much. But he loves you, dummy. Don't let ghosts win. Ghosts. Yeah. That night, Lucas drove the borrowed Civic back to Willow Creek. The highway a black ribbon under sodium stars. The town greeted him hushed, harvest moon fat and low, casting the fields in silver. The Harper house glowed warm, porch light a beacon. Inside, the scent of chili simmered, Mia's homework scattered like battlefield debris. James sat at the kitchen table, charcoal-smudged fingers flying over paper, a portrait of Lucas mid-speech, eyes alight with that stage fire. They locked gazes, air thick. Hey, James said soft, setting the sketch aside. Lucas slid into the chair opposite, exhaustion etching lines on his face. Hey, no fireworks, just the slow burn of honesty. James pushed the drawing over. For you. All of me seeing you, not the kid who raged. Lucas traced the lines, his own features rendered with such tenderness it ached. I overreacted. The past. It scared me because this, us, feels too good to lose. James reached across, hands clasping like lifelines. It was never hidden, Luke. Just buried. Therapy in Cleveland helped, after Dad split for good. Learned to channel the anger into this. He tapped the sketch. Art. You. But yeah, I should have shared sooner. Trust goes both ways. They talked then, deep into the pot of chili and a six-pack of Dad's craft brew. James unpacking the bar fight, defending his aunt's friend. A queen named Ruby who'd mentored him through coming out. The blog's catharsis. Deleted posts from a boy learning to forgive himself. Lucas listened, the knot in his chest loosening thread by thread. Forgive me, James asked finally, voice small. Lucas leaned in, foreheads touching. Already did. But no more half-truths. We're in the deep end now. The kiss that followed was reclamation. Slow, savoring, bodies pressing close over the scarred oak table. Upstairs later, in Lucas's old room with its faded Eagles posters, they made love with the urgency of amends. James's mouth mapping apologies on skin, Lucas's gasps weaving forgiveness into moans. It was raw, romantic, sweat-slick slides and whispered vows, the creak of the bed a symphony to their reunion. Afterward, tangled in sheets that smelled of home, James murmured, "Marry me someday. When we're old and gray, yelling at clouds in Brooklyn." Lucas chuckled, tracing tattoos on James's ribs, a compass rose for direction lost and found. Deal. But you propose with a mural, not a ring. Dawn crept in, painting them gold, and for a moment, the world was whole, no betrayals, just the humanistic hum of two souls mending. But Willow Creek's undercurrents ran deep. Tommy's confession at church had cracked the dam, but resentment pooled in unexpected places. The following Sunday, as Lucas guest spoke to the youth group, 30 teens in folding chairs, fidgeting with hymnals, questions flew polite at first. How'd you know? What about sin? He answered steady, drawing from his speech, from James's steady hand. Pastor Ellis nodded approval from the sidelines. Then, from the back, a voice misses. Hargrove, the librarian who'd shushed him once for a suggestive book in 8th grade. This lifestyle spreads, you know. My boy's impressionable. The room tensed, teens shifting. Lucas met her gaze, calm as the creek. Love doesn't spread like a virus, ma'am. It just is. And impressionable hearts? They learn kindness from watching us choose it. Murmurs rippled, some nods, a few frowns, but Ellis stepped in, steering to grace. Afterward, a cluster of kids lingered. A shy freshman with painted nails, a jock admitting my cousin's gay, scared for him. Seeds planted, fragile but fervent. Word looped back to Tommy, who showed up at the Harper's door that evening, hat in hands, eyes downcast. Heard about the talk. You handled Hargrove like a pro. I was wrong. Jealous, mostly. My life's a mess. Girl left. Job's shit. Seeing you rise? Kicked up dust. Lucas invited him in. No grudge held. His dad's influence. Maybe that stubborn optimism. Over coffee, Tommy spilled. Absentee dad echoes of James's. A town that praised grit but starved dreamers. You're lucky. Got a fighter in that Riley kid. They parted with a clasp. Not friends yet, but foes turned fellow travelers. James, meanwhile, channeled his own storms. Back in Cleveland for a weekend art fair, booths crammed with pottery and protest prints. He sold 3 pieces, including a series on queer quilts, patchwork canvases of fabric scraps from his mom's old sewing kit, stitched with threads of rainbow acrylic. Critics buzzed. Raw Americana. Heartbreak in every seam. A gallery scout slipped him a card. Pratt's got a spot with your name. He texted Lucas a photo. City calling. You in? The pull sharpened as winter hunkered down. Lucas aced fall semester. His op-ed on rural coming-outs landing in the Lantern. OSU's paper, From Cornfields to Courage. One town's reckoning. Shares hit the national wires. Interview requests from podcasts in Chicago. But fame's a double-edged blade. Trolls surfaced, dredging James's past again. twisting the bar fight into violent tendencies. One night, post a heated union meeting on campus safety, Lucas cracked, phone slamming down after a voicemails from an unknown. "Your boy's poison. Run." James drove up that midnight, arriving at 2 a.m. with greasy bags from Skyline Chili and eyes shadowed. They ate cross-legged on the dorm floor, three-way with Alex snoring in the bunk above. "Ignore 'em," James said, but his jaw ticked. "They're scared of us building something they can't touch." Lucas fed him a fry, grease-slick fingers lingering. "Then let's build louder." Inspiration struck. A joint project, James's art fused with Lucas's words. He pitched it to the union, Echoes of Home exhibit. Queer stories from flyover states, visuals by James, narratives by locals. The planning whirlwind bonded them tighter. James crashed weekends, sketching in the union lounge while Lucas typed beside him, feet tangled under the table. They recruited emails to Mia for Willow Creek anecdotes, calls to Ruby the drag queen for Cleveland grit. Tommy even contributed a sketchy poem about fields that hide but can't contain. Betrayal's echo faded, replaced by creation's roar. The opening loomed spring semester, a beacon amid midterms mire. But climax brewed in the heartland. Spring break, Lucas homebound, James trailed. Willow Creek thawed, mud season, when tractors churned lanes to slurry and folks emerged blinking from cabin fever. The town council meeting was the flashpoint. Agenda item: Youth Programming Review, code for Hargrove's push to defund Ellis's inclusive initiatives. Lucas showed, James at his side, the room packed with allies and adversaries. Hargrove rose first, voice quavering righteous. "We must protect traditional values." That speech last summer glorified deviance. Murmurs agreed, a block of church ladies nodding like bobbleheads. Then Ellis countered, measured, "Grace protects all. We've seen healings, families mended, kids empowered." Lucas's turn came, standing with James's hand brushing his covertly. "I was that kid. Rejected, then redeemed. Cut this funding, you cut hope. Willow Creek's better than fear." The vote teetered tied, then Hargrove's abstention tipping it against. Defeat stung, but as they filed out, a counterwave, teens from youth group, chanting "Love wins," impromptu. Hargrove cornered Lucas in the hall, face crumpled. "You win this round. But pray for us all. Not victory, but a crack, humanity's slow seep through stone." That night, under the oak, James pulled Lucas close. "Proud of you. Always." Their lovemaking was storm-swept, passion laced with the day's fury, bodies claiming space in the dark. Climax built like thunder, release a cathartic roar. Afterward, stars wheeling above, Lucas whispered, "Twists on them. We're the story now." Yet the real betrayal lurked closer. Days later, rifling James's sketch bag for a misplaced key, Lucas found letters, old, yellowed, from James's dad. "Son, I'm sorry. Cancer's got me. One last chance?" Postmarked months back, unanswered. Heart plummeting, Lucas confronted, "You hid this too?" James deflated. Couldn't face it. "He left us broken. Why mend now?" Tears carved tracks. "Because you're not him. And neither am I." The fight reignited old flames. But this time, they chose ash over blaze. James called his dad that week, a halting bridge over years. Lucas held him after, whispers of "you're enough." Humanistic threads weaving tighter. Summer scorched Willow Creek golden. the air thick with cicada hum and the promise of open roads. The Echoes of Home exhibit launched in Columbus with a bang, gallery packed wall-to-wall, fairy lights strung like fireflies, James's quilts draping walls like banners of defiance. Lucas emceed, voice steady as he introduced pieces. A stitched map of Ohio counties with pins for coming-out towns, Ruby's sequined self-portrait glaring bold. "These aren't just art," he said, arm around James. "They're testimonies to surviving the silence." Shouting back, cheers thundered, critics scribbled notes. A local news crew captured the kiss James planted on Lucas's cheek mid-speech. Unscripted, electric. Backstage, amid champagne flutes and backslaps, Mia FaceTimed from home, towns buzzing. Even Hargrove bought a print. The high carried them through the reception, James's hazel eyes sparkling like the Scioto at dawn. But as the crowd thinned, a figure approached, tall, gaunt, in a frayed denim jacket. James's dad, Walt, uninvited but undaunted, clutching a dog-eared Pratt brochure like a white flag. "Son," the word hung, gravelly. James froze, champagne flute midway. Lucas squeezed his hand, "Your call." Tension coiled, the room's hum fading to a pulse. "What are you doing here?" James asked, voice edged but not shattered. Walt swallowed, eyes hazel mirrors wet. "Saw the article. Your work. It's you. The fighter I should have raised. A beat, then cancer stage 4. Months, maybe. Want to make it right. If you'll let me." Betrayal's ghost loomed. Years of absence. Bottles over bedtime stories. But James exhaled slow, the quilt behind him a metaphor made flesh. "One coffee. Neutral ground. No promises." Walt nodded, retreating like a shadow at noon. Lucas pulled James into the storage room, door clicking shut on the world. "You okay?" Kisses answered. Fierce, grounding, hands framing faces slick with unshed tears. "With you, always." They emerged steadied, the exhibit's echoes carrying them home to the dorm, where love unfolded lazy under ceiling fans. Explorations tender, affirmations gasped into skin. Walt's visit cracked more than old wounds. It humanized the man, peeling back myth to flesh. Their first coffee at a short North cafe was stilted small talk over lattes. James's sketches fanned like shields. But stories seeped. Walt's own regrets. A queer uncle shunned in the 60s. The bottle as escape from factory grind. "I failed you." But seeing this, he tapped a photo of the exhibit on his phone. "Makes me believe in do-overs." James didn't forgive wholesale. No magic eraser for scars, but allowed a thread. Weekly calls, a tentative visit to Cleveland. Willow Creek watched the ripples. Back for July 4th. Fireworks over the fairgrounds. Ribs sticky with sauce. Lucas and James arrived hand in hand, the Mustang festooned with star-spangled streamers. The town picnic was a litmus. Some stares lingered, but more smiles broke through. Tommy manned the grill, flipping burgers with a nod. "Congrats on the show, Riley. That quilt thing blew my mind. No big redemption arc, just incremental grace." Tommy dating a barista from Kent State, inching toward his own truths. Pastor Ellis cornered them by the hay bales. Bible swapped for a program from an interfaith pride event. Your exhibit inspired the board. Funding's back, plus a scholarship for queer youth. Hargrove hovered at the edge, cake plate in hand, but offered a slice with a mumbled "nice work." Boys, progress, prickly as thistle. Mia, now 13 and fierce with eyeliner experiments, dragged them to the Ferris wheel, squealing as the car crested. "You two are goals," she declared, wind whipping her ponytail. Lucas ruffled her hair. Heartful family, not just blood, but chosen. The holiday peaked with a bonfire on the creek bank, locals and transplants circling flames, guitars strumming folk tunes laced with queer anthems. James sketched the scene, charcoal flying, while Lucas spun tales from the exhibit tour, Chicago next. Then maybe Austin. Walt even showed, awkward in the circle, but sharing a beer with James's mom, who'd driven down unannounced. Laughter bubbled, tentative bridges burning bright. But climax crested personal. Late August, pre-semester scramble, James got the Pratt acceptance, full ride, Brooklyn bound. "We did it," he hooped over the phone, Lucas midboxing in the dorm. Joy spiked, then plummeted miles again, city to college town. "Subways and road trips," Lucas joked, but fear gnawed distance as thief, stealing moments. They met halfway that weekend, a no-frills motel off I-70, neon sign buzzing vacancy like a heartbeat. The room smelled of bleach and possibility, beds sagging under their weight. "This changes nothing," James vowed, stripping Lucas slow, reverent kisses trailing like constellations. Their lovemaking was epic, emotional, bodies arching in sync, gasps weaving romance's spell. James entered him with a groan, eyes locked, mine, forever, building to a crescendo that shattered stars. After sweat cooled and spent, they plotted monthly flights, holiday crashes, a shared apartment post-grad. Fall semester dawned crisp, Lucas buried in advanced journalism, James shipping sketches from a Brooklyn sublet. Calls bridged gaps, late nights philosophizing over pizza slices, James's, and ramen, Lucas's. The exhibit toured, drawing crowds, even a TEDx invite for Lucas, from skipped stages to shared stories. Willow Creek streamed it live, the community center packed, his family front row, Mia live tweeting, Dad dabbing eyes. Betrayal's final twist came gentle. Walt passed in October, peaceful, sketches from James at his bedside. The funeral in Cleveland was small, raw, eulogies from Ruby, tears from estranged kin. James spoke last, voice steady. He came back late, but he came. That's the story worth telling. Lucas held his hand through it, the drive home a quiet vigil. No rage, just release, a humanistic close to a chapter long poisoned. Winter brought holidays, Thanksgiving in Willow Creek, turkey and toasts to new roads. James flew in, Pratt tales spilling, graffiti hunts in Bushwick, a queer art collective that felt like family. Christmas in Columbus, twinkling dorm lights and eggnog toasts with Alex, now dating a theater kid. New Year's under Ohio snow, they kissed at midnight on the quad, fireworks blooming like affirmations. Spring bloomed reconciliations. Hargrove hosted a library panel, books and belonging, Lucas and James guesting, teens devouring stories of Harvey Milk and Allison Bechtel. Tommy emceed, mic in hand, his own essay on small-town stumbles earning snaps. The town shifted, seismic slow, pride flags in shop windows, afloat in the county fair parade. Graduation weekend, Lucas's, this time college dawned balmy. The Horseshoe Stadium thrummed, scarlet sea of caps and gowns. His family filled a row, Mia in OSU gear, parents beaming unreserved, even Walt's widow sending a quilt square sewn with proud. James sat beside, Pratt ring on his finger, a promise etched in silver. As Lucas crossed the stage, diploma gripped, cheers roaring, he locked eyes with them all, heart a drum of triumph. The after-party sprawled, backyard bash at the Harpers, lanterns swaying, Springsteen on loop. Toasts flowed, Dad's gruff to my son. The writer, Mia's to epic loves. James's, pulling Lucas close. To twists that turn pain to power. They danced under stars, bodies swaying to Thunder Road. The future a highway unfurling. Years blurred. Lucas's first byline in The Atlantic. James's gallery show in Soho, Heartland Hymns. Quilt's now museum darlings. They married in Willow Creek. Creekside under that oak, rainbow arch, Mia officiating with sass. The town came, Hargrove included, cake slices passed with nods. No fairy tale flawless, but deeply human, scars as stories, love as the loudest rebellion. In the end, the shock wasn't the skip or the stage. It was the watch, the city, the world, witnessing grace win. Lucas and James, hands clasped on that endless road, proved it, betrayal bends, but the heart, immense, romantic and relentless, under American skies vast as hope.